Oh, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. So, let's see. Top chat. What else we got there? Live chat. Okay, we're gonna go for that. Live chat. So, are you ready for it? Ooh, ooh, ooh. So, what do you think? What's going on? How you doing? Oh, oh. No. So, I don't have any way to get around. I have very little money, and I'm a happy clam because I don't worry about anything. And if I were to die, I mean, this morning I woke up, like right now, I'm in a lot of pain, and people come to me, oh, heal me. And I look at them and I tell them basically it's how they're standing or sitting or what they're doing with their body. And I tell them that. And they go, oh, gee, thanks. Right. And then they leave. Right. They're not even taking me out to lunch. And this person said, well, you just do it because you do it. And I said, that's true. But, it's always nice to have a little respect because if you can't put a value on something, especially yourself, well, then you don't respect yourself or your life or anything that you say you do. And I really don't, like I said, when I died in 2014, I kind of said, okay, I had, let's see, I started, oh, being part of the, I was a consultant for the desperate lawyer class, guys who had figure salaries and were living paycheck to paycheck. And I would, they would get them paint themselves in a corner, and I would negotiate them out of it. And they paid me a lot of money. And then, part of my thing was they took care of me, place to stay, transportation, food, you name it, blah blah blah. And they got to like having me around because I would give them insights and things that they didn't understand. And then once they put those things into practice, their life seemed to get a little better. Right. So anyway, it's not that tough to see what's going on. Right. And we are heading, because you have to realize that virtually everything is scripted. Our weather is being manipulated. Our food is like super processed. Everything we breathe, we drink, we eat is poison, right? Um, the male you know, ability to fertilize an egg is dropping off a cliff. Um, all of the court proceedings taking away the rights of women's bodies is interesting. And I'm not a big fan of abortion because there's a simple thing the Catholic Church has always been allowing. It's called rhythm. If you can read a calendar, you are pretty much 98% sure you're not going to get pregnant, right? And then if you just take a few little procedures, like not to let the boy stoop you 2 days before or 2 days after that window, you almost go to 99%. And then, if you are fertile, a woman gives off a kind of discharge. And all she has to do is put two fingers down there and pull it out. And if it's a little mucousy discharge, well, mm-mm. And there's plenty of other things. Most women really like my intimacy because I'm not a slam bang thank you man. I keep them on the edge of their seat for at least a couple of hours just by touching them. Right? They're not just in the private places, but there are erogenous zones all over your body. Right? And God gave us all these things. Sex is not dirty. It's just part of reproduction. And there's a little benefit that is kind of fun, right? To motivate us to reproduce. Well, we're at, somewhere around 8 point something billion people on the planet, and we are going to go off the cliff, right? By 2040, population should be around 7.5 if we don't have nuclear war. If we have nuclear war, it'll be down to 3. And we will have nuclear. We will have a nuclear exchange. We won't have war. We will probably have something in the order of 7 to 20 nuclear exchanges, right? So we'll wipe out some very large cities. We will irradiate certain areas, but it won't be the end of times. It won't really be any worse than 1972. And, Stalin said, the loss of one life is a real catastrophe. But when it gets up in the millions, it's just numbers. So um, I'm here and out in the middle of, I bought this property. I don't own anything except my little slice of heaven. And I put that into a nonprofit entity. So I don't even own that anymore. So no one can touch it, right? It's in a trust. And so, and it'll stick around for a while. And I've offered it to many folks to be a shell for a nonprofit for world peace. Oh, but that's too hard. There is a church that has been using a public school for the last 20 years, because it's right there. And it's everybody who goes to that church goes to that school, and everybody who teaches in that school used to go to it as a kid. And now the rich people coming in who are old and don't want to pay taxes. So they bought off the Chamber of Commerce, who's pressuring the politicians to basically get rid of public education in this part of the state. And it's not like it hasn't happened. Back in the 50s and 60s, when the Brown Supreme Court thing came down, Virginia stopped having public schools, period, stopped it. Just, oh, we're not in the education business. They took all those public schools and sold it for a penny, like a whole big high school for a penny, to their white Ku Klux Klan buddies who want to have white school, and they did that, right? And nothing will stop. If people don't even know our history, so good luck with that, right? So let's take the little time machine here and see a little bit some history. Do 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 do, boop boop boop, do 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 do.
To get to Montgomery, start with the affiliated Legacy Museum that chronicles the whole African American experience, and then visit the memorial, and afterwards stop by the Rosa Parks Museum, which is there at Troy University. And of course, while I was there, I found myself wondering about the origin of the word lynch. And it turns out that the word lynch is an eponym. It derives from somebody's name. The most likely story is that it comes from the name of a Captain William Lynch of Pittsylvania, Virginia. And in 1780, he had his own law and order group of vigilantes who administered their own justice outside the courts during the American Revolution. And usually what that meant is that they would seize somebody and punish them either by flogging them or tarring and feathering them, not killing them. And soon after that, we see the term lynch law in reference to people taking justice into their own hands. And it took a few years before lynching came to apply specifically to a mob actually executing somebody. And usually, as you know, that was by hanging. And it was from the 1890s on that lynching was usually used to specify the murder of Black people by white mobs. And again, we're talking more than 4,400 of them in the space of less than 75 years. So lynching is an eponym, and it's a term that's evolved over time. But in any case, I urge everybody to get to Montgomery if you have the chance, because it's an extraordinary experience.
Well, thank you for that. And the etymology of the word, I knew a little bit of that, but the details are horrifying. Language is lovely, but also unlovely in places.
The English language is a record of beauty and cruelty.
This show
This is my theme song. Boom, 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 boom. Warren Zevon, he's the man. Boom, boom. He's a hairy-handed gent. Where are the muffin Kent? Huh. Yeah, baby. I used to live there. Him? Well, got Jim. Huh. Yeah, baby. Ow! Werewolves of London. Ow! Boom, 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 boom. Ooh, Werewolves of London. Ooh. Saul on Cheney.
Catherine Massey, Lakia Boyd, Margaret Aubrey, Elijah McClain, Kempton Howard, and Kissinger Gunn. To the countless more who have lost their lives to senseless gun violence, to senseless violence of any kind.
Yeah, baby.
This one goes out to Evelyn Fox, who lost her son. Timothy was left unmarried to lay their cold in his own blood. Shadows fall down, endless alleyway of fiendish pain where bullets struck. Ricochet love, innocence don't shoot.
Conversation with God unless I am curious about why something is unfolding the way it has, you know. I do fast every year, you know. I do Ramadan every year, and I
So
do
do
that
I.
because I love the discipline it requires.
So
And I
do
think there's
I.
a real spiritual discipline there that I'm drawn to.
That's what I'm drawn
You
to,
know,
too. That's why I do
because
it.
it's not just not eating
And I'm
and
not a
drinking; it's
Muslim.
also just supposed to be clear-headed and operate in a way that
Catholics used to do a thing
allows you
called
to
Lent, which is
approach
almost
it
the same.
with an openness, and it's like a holistic approach.
But I'd love to
And
see
so, you know,
some
there's
Christians
that, but
be
I
as
don't really
beautiful
find myself
as
in
Muslims.
awe
I have never
or
seen any
eager
Christian
to have, say, like a
pray
conversation
5 times a day. I
with
mean,
God
where they
that will
take out the prayer
answer any
cross, put it on
questions,
the ground,
which
prostrate
but
themselves.
I think I am
like-
someone who operates with belief, though. You know, like I believe that
These things, and you're warning to others by letting them know this is dangerous. Stay away from it. This can get you in big trouble.
Big trouble.
And I think a lot of people have become lazy today
Yeah, lazy
in not warning others. They just, kind of apathetic about it. Well,
about everything. Go to any church, there's apathy. Nobody wants
I can
to
remember a day when
be
people would warn
God's
me. They cared enough to say,
love.
you know what, you need to stay away from that, son. That'll get you in big trouble. That kept me out of a lot of.
And breathtaking as it is, that's not his biggest work. He can call that into another one into existence whenever he likes. The important thing is his redemption. I know that for two reasons.
Yep.
How much space in the Bible is devoted to the creation? A couple chapters in Genesis, a few Psalms. We're going to find some very exciting chapters next time we get together in Isaiah. But there's a few chapters in Genesis, a few Psalms, Isaiah, a couple places. That's about it. Chapter 2 in Job.
Redemption all
You
through.
covered the creation as far as the Bible is concerned, pretty much. What about the redemption? Well, you go through the book of Genesis, most of the book of Genesis. You know, Adam coats the skins, all of that. The ark coming, it's all redemption. Well, certainly Exodus, that's what it's all about. Exodus, the Passover, it's Leviticus, that's what it's all about. Redemption, all the sacrifice.
Redemption.
Numbers, sure, the wanderings, you bet. You know, Deuteronomy, the law again, yeah. Surely the prophets, God's, not prophesying the creation, prophesying the redemption. The Gospels, the whole Bible, virtually.
So what is redemption?
under arrest.
You know, you guys can make a comment.
Under arrest.
So what about redemption? What is redemption? You know, redemption is many things. Clear slate, you know. When Jesus died on the cross, that was redemption for the original sin, right? Because up until then, everybody was going to hell, right? Still today, everyone's going to hell, but they're not, because Jesus gave us redemption. Now, the thing is that we're supposed to be in connection, we're supposed to have um, you know, a personal relationship with God. And God is, not this old guy sitting on a gold toilet. No, God is, the Godhead, Elohim, the Son, which is God in the body. Meaning the only way we could have redemption is if God could forgive us. And the only way God could forgive us, because God made everything, he had to go up on the cross and suffer for us. So I was in church today, and we had about 12 songs that were all about the blood of Christ and how it flowed and how it washed over us and made us white like snow, right? And there were 3-4 songs that all said that, the same thing. It was truly amazing. And we have a few black folk in our church, and I was like looking at them. I'm gonna have to talk to them about what they thought about that. And they put the stuff on the video screen so you can sing along. You don't have to look in the book anymore. It's like big up there. And man, I was belting it out, and people were like almost feeling because nobody was singing. I mean, the choir was singing, and they're a choir, and they like practice it. And half the teenage kids were like angry that they had to be up there. They had this angry look. I mean, that they had a push like this, right? Oh, there's somebody. So, Jamie, you can get on now. Playing you on 2 devices to get volume. So, is my volume not right? Where I have no idea. You told me that I had turned it off, or you couldn't. I have no idea what I'm doing, kids. I really don't. So anyway, Sunday was so I don't have a vehicle. My electronics do what they want. I was writing away on something that was kind of fun last night, and all of a sudden, bang! My the computer said, "Oh, we are not going to let you use your cursor. You're going to have to like move the thing around one thing." It's like, what did I do? What did I do? And that is life in general itself, right? And just think how the folks there in the Gaza Strip must be feeling right now. What did they do? Well, we had about 4 people for a moment, and then they were all gone. And so, this is supposed to be a live chat, and Jamie has proved that it is a live chat. So come on, chat away, kids. Let's hear what you're feeling about yourself today. What's the weather like? What's your job like? What's your boyfriend or girlfriend or your significant other doing to you? What are you doing to yourself? I've gone through virtually everything you can do to yourself in minimal. The only thing I guess I kind of overdid was eating, because between 2003 and 2014, 11 years, I worked for extraordinarily wealthy people who led these unbelievable, stupid, extraordinarily wealthy lives, and go out to these restaurants and things. And I just went whole hog, right? And I did like my grandma would. We go to a super duper fancy restaurant, and I would, be sitting there with the rich people, and I said, "Hey, you got a Benjamin?" And to show that, "Oh yeah, here, you want a Benjamin?" And I would get it, and then I would give it before the meal is over. When they're just starting to serve it, I give it to the server, saying, "I want the best service." And so I would get, not the guys who were paying for it, I would get the best service because I had taken the $100 bill from the rich guy and given it to the server, right? And I said, spread it around. And sometimes the first time I would go out with these guys, I said, "Oh, what do you got in your wallet?" They'd have like a couple grand in Benjamins. I said, "Hey, give me 4 of those," and I would hand them out to the people in the restaurants or clubs or wherever we were. And And I'd always say, put it on his bill, right? So I went from being about 210 to being 480, right? And then at the top of my gorgoness before I died, I was about 520. And then I died, right? And God brought me back. And I was being rolled into the operating room where they were going to do a quadruple bypass and cut 20 feet out of my colon and give me a colostomy bag and cut my legs off. And I popped straight up on the gurney, and I had the needle in my arm with the fentanyl going, and they couldn't believe I could wake up. I said, "Put me back in that ICU." And I got that lawyer who said, "Yeah, go do it," because the doctor said, "Well, if you let us do this, he'll be right as rain in 3 weeks to take care of whatever you need him to do." And of course, I'd be dead. I wouldn't be right as rain. And my health exposure these days, I had wired myself in the last 10 years with some really good doctors. Well, they've all left. They've all given up on medicine. So now I have doorknobs for caretake, medical, and all they want to do is do open heart surgery. And now, all I really need is a pair of orthopedic shoes, which they keep saying, "Oh, we can't do that. We have to send you to another specialist." They've sent me to 6 different specialists who all say, "Yeah, give them." One of those specialists already made the orthopedic shoes, but they won't authorize it. So it's quite interesting. And that is just a microcosm of what's going on. I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, and the rich have shown up and ripped it apart, destroyed it, caused mountains to collapse, and utilities to fall apart, and lakes to be poisoned, and destroying school systems because the rich don't want to pay the taxes for educating kids because it's not theirs. So this is all very, very interesting. Watching this, we see this war in the Ukraine, where it's a war of the Vlads, Putin and a stand-up comedian, and they're both reading the same script, and the script says we need a lot of innocent people to die. That blood again, and the river and the flow. It's always about the blood, right? And so there is a God, there is Jesus, there is a spirit, there is all of those things that are metaphors for whatever it is. If you think you know what God is, good luck with that. Now, what I do is I am God's slave. Whatever God tells me to do, I do. And it's not like, "Oh, go do this. Go get the laundry for me." No, if something happens, I sit and meditate and say, should I be upset about this? Should I do this? So what did I do, with the doctor? I went in there and I have a pair of orthopedic shoes that's falling apart. I put masking tape all around them and then put, he is from a certain place in South America. So I'm sure he knows about, Santeria, indigenous religions, right? And so I put all the Sitchins on my feet. And he came in and he looked straight at him. It was like, right? And I was like, "Hey, motherfucker, you are the head, a Richard Cranium, and you're going to, from your own feces in your mouth," right? And he just looked at that and just, because he wasn't going to do anything, right? For me, right? Because he had all these tests. I said, "So what did the test say? What was the response from this, and what did that say?" And he was like, "Because I already saw him 3 times, and he wouldn't give me any." He says, "Well, because of HIPAA, I can't tell you that." I said, "That's about me. You can tell me about me." But he knows I know medicine, and so he knows that if he gives me the information about the tests that he put me through, it will just show his incompetence. So he doesn't want me to. Anyway. So I walked in with those shoes on, and that's what God told me to do. Have some fun. That's what I constantly do. Have some fun. And so around here, I've told a lot of people what's going to happen. Like 4 years ago, when the cockroach, when COVID was, I knew COVID was coming up before it hit hit us, right? Because there was back in 2016, the militaries have an Olympics, right? And the American military and the English military and the French and the Spanish and the Korean and the Japanese and the Chinese and the Russians, all their army guys are athletes too, and they have these military Olympics. And so there was one in China, right there in Wuhan, where it was ground zero of the bat thing that was COVID-19 allegedly, and people were getting really sick there in 2016, right? And I had friends who knew about that and said, "What do you think of this?" And I, said, looks like the next Spanish flu, right?" And why did they call it Spanish flu? You had this flu that happened in 1917, right? My mom in upstate New York, she went to Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner at her aunt's house, and they got snowed in and couldn't get out until May, right? And so when she got out and went to school, everyone in her town school had died of the flu, of the influenza. Everyone in her class, everyone below her, above her. The next thing that's coming is bird flu because it's in all the milk. You don't know that the genetic virus that they can just look at the gene, the double helix, is in 40% of all milk products, right? And what's really interesting, what you have to do is go back and the guy who produced the X-Files, Chris, what's his name? Dark journalist. Got you on stereo. Yeah, dark journalist, I like that boy. But see, pretty much, I haven't seen anybody who's like the big picture. A dark journalist, he's got great information, really great. I love Joseph Farrell. I love, what's her name? Catherine Austin Fitz. I love the other people they have on. And it's a great fund of information, right? And I basically listen to them and then go into state and write my novels, right? So pretty much a good deal of what I write about is what they say, but as if you were on acid, My writing is like James Joyce on acid, right? So yeah, JFK, Hollywood Pantheon, and he goes on, he sure doesn't like Biden, but see, everyone's calling Biden, Biden is a sick puppy. You have to look at, no one wants to, Dark Journalist is a great historian. He does go digging around, but the real deal, you have to look at JoJo and see that at every point, the last 60 years, he's been a senator. He has been, what he did with decontrolling banking and, getting rid of the Depression and the Trust Act politics that was in there, got rid of those, right? And so that's why we have the poor getting poorer, the rich getting richer, right? And why '08 happened, and then we had almost 11 years of interest-free money, and that's why the stock market went through the roof, right? And I heard somebody on talk radio and AM late at night say, "Well, when Donald Trump was president, gasoline was $2.40." Well, that's because we had economic collapse. Everybody on the planet got locked into their house. Nobody went to work. Nobody was driving around. There were no trucks running. There was no supply chain. Of course, inflation went down through the floor. So when JoJo got it, he took a chunk of change. Way more. Donald Trump gave a $20 trillion payback to the 1/2 of 1% of the richest people on this planet. Well, JoJo tripled that and just fire hosed cash into the economy so it would bounce back. So that's why we have this little bit of inflation, right? And for the amount of money that he flew in there, the inflation is not that bad. I was, 1973, inflation was 16% and stayed there for 4 years. That's called a depression. We had a depression for almost 15 years. We had a social economic collapse between 1968 and 1908. And then we had the oops of '08, right? It's like we have not come back. We only had a little glimpse of the pendulum swinging in the direction of the working class, and that was between 1945 and 1965. Just it, 20 years, give or take. And that's it. Let's see. See, I always look good. What was Billy Crystal on Saturday Night Live said, he played this, Italian movie star who would say, it's better to look good than to feel good. Well, basically, the only reason I look good is because my spirit on the inside is feeling good, meaning it can push past any, SITS rate or blood pressure or any of the above. Meaning my blood pressure is usually around 118/62, except when I have to deal with the medical morons, right? And now that's the only place I can use the word moron. Everyone else has to be called an exceptionally challenged individual, right? And that's the woke. So I was in church today, and I had to describe like woke and Me Too and Black Lives Matter and all of that to my ultra white church, because they want to basically go back to 1830, and so it's and they were going on about Israel and the Strip and all that, and it's right in the Bible. Israel has done this before and got whacked for it, and so I'm like pointing it out, and they're like, and see, the three churches I go to, and I can read the Bible in Greek, Hebrew, or English, and I've never really gotten the hang of Russian. It's a bit too much for me. But anyway, so I was describing it in all three. And there's two or three, the minister guy, and he doesn't know anything. And two other guys who are deacons, and they've been reading, and so they all know, well, Hal does know this stuff pretty well, better than I do. They say that, he actually knows this better than me, right? And I'm describing it in a way that the general public can understand it. Like what does woke mean, right? And I said, well, woke is a mean. What? I said, well, it's a term that's used in public media. And well, that's devil talk. Devil talk. And I said, no, it's basically like you're talking on the phone, but you're not, And a mean is when you are discussing a subject matter in a public forum, like Facebook or X or any of those things, and they use shorthand to describe something, right? And so woke is the shortened version of to be awake, to be conscious of, right? But to be woke, you're not really conscious of anything. You're just repeating this one little meme that is shortcut for this is what I like and this is what I don't like, right? And so that's without going into great depth of what the historical, social, the psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic, all those ologies, they do not work unless you put them together. Meaning, I was paid for 30 years to be a itinerant scholar, and I remember being at Brookings And someone says, itinerant scholar, what's that? And this other guy says, well, it's a Rhodes Scholar without Cecil Rhodes. And I'll let you munch on that one. So, anybody who's a Rhodes Scholar, Bill Clinton's Rhodes Scholar, Hillary Clinton's a Rhodes Scholar, that'll give you a leg up on what that is, It's all been lies, yep. But they're so transparent. That's what I love about Donald Trump. He lies so much, he tells the truth, When he goes that, the last presidential election was fixed. Well, every presidential election's fixed because we have this thing called electoral college. I mean, Al Gore won, and the Supreme Court put, Mr. Bush, 43 in, with Dick Cheney really being president, right? I mean, Kennedy got in that way. Nixon got in that way. LBJ got in there by assassination, and then slurring. If Barry Goldwater was running for president today, they would call him, a fascist, a socialist. People were going on about communism in church. I said, guys, communism, it's not an ideology. It's an economic definition. They went, huh? I said, guys, Marx and Engels, who are they? They're the guys who wrote, who coined the phrase communism from the Greek. But what they were was the loyal opposition to Mr. Rothschild, right? Oh, so he's Jewish. So that's good. I said, he's not really Jewish. He's Anunnaki. What's that? He's not one of the 12 tribes. It's all been lies. Yes. All. Yep. Everything, except for me. And don't believe a word I say. The one thing you can trust about what I say is, who loves you, baby? Your sensei, Al Bob, loves you, right? And come on, let's see some thumbs up. There's 5 of you, 4 of you now. 5. Let's see 5 thumbs up. Come on. So, and there's a few of you guys there. Why does Jamie have to do all the heavy lifting? And Jamie, you could be a little more, go deeper so I can respond. Just putting lies or all, okay. And virtually any textual matter is a lie. Every textbook is a lie. So when I was, getting paid to go to school at some of the best schools, I went to Cornell, I went to Columbia. I was in Columbia a couple of times. And I was there when they had the anti-Vietnam things, and the whole college, is just really ridiculous, man. If you really want to do something, go work in a poor neighborhood, like I've done my whole life, right? No matter where I was, I would, I'd be working for these super rich lawyers, and like in Florida, you can turn any which way and you can find a desperate, poverty-stricken neighborhood. And it doesn't have to be black. It's every color in the rainbow is got a desperately poverty-stricken neighborhood in Florida or any state in the United States. They're all basically the same. We live in a slave state. If you haven't realized that, kids, I guess you've never worked at Burger King or McDonald's or any of the fast food places. That's slavery. Minimum wage in 1983, I think it was $3.75, right? If you put the inflation thing in it, at $3.75 would be now $33 right now. And so people are, the rich people complaining about $15 an hour. It should be 33, and then it would be $3.75. So let's see what else is on the magic time machine here. Let's see. No, I don't want to play Pandora. No. Even if it's free. No. See, I can't even get back. Okay. So the little X is like so small I can't see it, even with reading glasses. These are my cool reading glasses.
And it's been striking that, whilst this has gone on, we've not really seen the kind of armed resistance from the army or the National Guard that we might otherwise see in coups, So we're really waiting to see how this unfolds, knowing that the consequences for Niger and the wider region in the Sahel and West Africa could really be profound. This is a big, largely impoverished country suffering from multiple Islamist insurgencies, and
So this is
Niger is a
from
country that has a history of coups.
17.
July 26th.
Niger is a landlocked country, it's just south of
July
Libya,
26th,
wedged between Mali, Burkina Faso, and
2023.
Chad. And Chad is itself desperately trying to avoid the war in Sudan from spilling into its country. So really there's a major diplomatic effort now to avert this and to stop
Well,
this
they haven't
spilling
averted
over
anything.
and unraveling in the
There's
region. So
18 million
many of the
people who have
countries
been displaced,
surrounding Niger will be watching
close
this very
to
closely.
4,200 dead.
Thanks very much.
That's NPR's Africa correspondent Emmanuel Akinwotu reporting from Nigeria on the situation next door in Niger.
And this is all happening in
Today is
countries
the
that
last
have
in a series
resources.
of closed-door briefings for senators on artificial intelligence. It's part of a congressional effort to try to move fast to regulate the emerging technology. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer issued this warning earlier this summer.
We have no choice but
No
to
choice.
acknowledge that AI's changes are coming, and in many cases are already here
No kidding. I'm dealing with them in the medical
at our
world.
own peril.
Schumer has introduced legislative framework for AI law, but he's just
Well, to cut the, they didn't do anything. This is last year in July. Didn't do anything. Just had closed door conferences. So we paid for it and didn't get any of the information, right? Come on, where are some thumbs up? What's up with you people?
Support for WETS comes from the Carter Family Fold.
That's
hosting
my
the 49th
radio
annual
station.
Carter
Really
Family
good.
Fold Festival.
One of the
Featuring
best
performers
public radio
include
stations
Leftover
I've run
Biscuits,
in
Carson Peters
for
and
a
Iron
long,
Mountain,
long
White
time.
Top Mountain Band, and Ronnie Williams. 2 sets each.
increasingly erratic in her convictions. O'Connor was a feminist, then she wasn't. She supported the Irish Republican Army until she didn't. She got ordained as a Catholic priest by a rogue sect. She went from celibacy to oversharing about her tastes in sex. Her music turned
Oversharing.
unpredictably from new age to opera to reggae.
She had a
Even
great
though
voice.
O'Connor never produced another notable hit, tabloids kept covering her. For 4 marriages, 4 divorces, 4 children. Her feuds with celebrities, ranging over the years from Frank Sinatra to Miley Cyrus. Music critic Bill Wyman.
I think people lost respect for her credibility, and her later records just aren't as much fun. They're poorly produced and they're odd. They're just not as enjoyable.
In later years, she made a
That's because she did what she wanted, and the marketplace didn't like that. The rich guys didn't like that, As long as she was this wacko shaved, once she shaved her head, that was too much for them. Right? Anyway, what else can we tell you? Let's see. Okay. Do. Let's see what this is. This is December 26th.
Sinead O'Connor took to Facebook and Twitter to write about her struggles with mental illness.
I can't get this into place on notes. He's coming down the Forest Service Road. The lesbian lovers. They go down the end of the road and have at it. It's always fun. I don't want to listen to Pandora. Not going to let me play this stuff.
Keep it all citrus tree along.
But why don't we
we split it up? I'll take the people and you take the stuff. How does that sound, Abram? Abram says, absolutely not. He accepts nothing. And then turns to this mysterious man, the Melchizedek, king of righteousness.
That went to hell, and just as wicked as we were many, many years ago. It's a gift from God. But the fact
Sounded like somebody went into my neck of the woods. See if I can get up. Look. Oh, that's the problem with leaves. I can't see anything. Oh. I had to get up anyway. Stretch my legs. Well, I'm going to have to say goodbye. I have to check this out. There's people that I've seen to think shouldn't be where they should be.